Nice. We have both opted for background changes. Mine is thematically appropriate for what we might need to talk about in addition to Winger. Also, Winger.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Winger! Pull!
So Winger both they have a new album out, which surprised me, but they are also playing their 1993, I think, album Pull
Correct. 1993. Pull.
at ProgPower next year. Yes,
Yes.
and
Headlining
headlining
ProgPower
ProgPower.
with an album
I mean,
playthrough of an album from 1993. Oh, and it's Winger. So
I
yeah.
mean, relative to the festival, I guess they're pretty famous
Why?
in terms of
Why
like.
though? And is that what we're talking about? Are we
Well,
trying to figure out why Winger and Pull is famous? Do you have thoughts?
I don't have this. So okay, so my understanding, and the first I heard of this was when they were announced for ProgPower. Pull being their early '90s album, they were already like they had like their first two albums did pretty well, from what I know, but I think their hits were mostly on the first one, and so a lot of bands have that early '90s album where they're like they still are around because they were big in the 80s, and then like it takes a few years for the industry to catch up and be like, hey, we don't need you fuckers anymore, get out of here.
Right. Checks out.
And to varying degrees they try to like adapt to the times, but in Winger's case what's interesting is that, at least according to what I hear from Prague Power, and also like it seems pretty well agreed that this album was a little more progressive and darker and had pseudo political themes and stuff, and uh some of that seems true, but also it basically is less commercial because I think they were already past their like commercial peak or something, and that maybe they just knew that they're like, we're not gonna have we're not gonna have a 17 on this one for
Yikes.
better or worse. So I listened to the new one and Pull. And
I have not listened to the new one in its entirety. I have listened to the ones that have videos. There's like four.
oh
That
crap,
saw.
I didn't even watch the videos. That's
Oh,
very
the
stupid of me.
videos, they're standard fare, mostly performance kind of stuff. Nothing
It makes sense, that
overexciting.
kind of band. But I want to see Red Beach play at least. He's a very good guitar player.
Looks like he
Um,
could play. What I heard, he sounds good.
so my impression, like I honestly probably got the best of it because I felt like the new one. All right, let's talk about the new one, and then we'll talk about Pull. And
Okay.
we'll try to figure out what the hell's going on and
Sure.
why Winger's headlining Prague Power. Uh, the new one, I think it starts out strong. Like that was the thing at the beginning. I was like, this is surprisingly decent, and like Winger, okay, so traditionally they'd be considered like a glam slash hair slash butt rock slash metal band, right? Those are all the
But if
same
memory
thing.
serves, they were in particular, not just those things, but in particular the band that the metal guys really wanted to hate,
Oh
right? Because
yeah,
they were
yeah,
too pretty and too polished, and Kip Winger's facial hair was just it was something
right.
else.
And it was like that was like a joke on Beavis and Butthead that
Yes,
they were like the least
the
cool
Stewart, I
band.
think it was. Yeah.
Yes. But in reality, it turns out they're like real good musicians.
Yep.
Like Red Beach is a fantastic guitar player. Rod Morgenstein teaches at Berkeley. He's a drummer, and he also he was in some other big side project with some other like prog people that I should probably know. There's like some
We'll
specific
get there.
project where it was
It's all
like
right. We can't know everything.
three guys' names, and he was one of them. We'll look it up later. We just pretend to know
Fair.
things on this podcast. It starts off real strong, and I would even say like uh it's the same tone as Pull. Okay, to skip a
Okay,
little
sure.
ahead to like comparison. I think this one has a little more, like they put a little bit of the 80s back in it compared to Pull.
Oh no.
Like just a little bit, because there's still
Because
some of the
there
90s
was
thing.
plenty in Pull.
There's still some of that 90s, that like early 90s, which sounds just like the very late 80s kind of thing, where they're
Right.
like trying to sound 90s, but it doesn't sound that 90s. Like Pull didn't sound like grunge, it kind of
No,
sounded 90s,
no,
but
not at all.
but the new one, the new one is called Seven, by the way.
Yes.
Apparently, not because it's a concept sequel to 17, which would be real bad if it was called 7,
That's the wrong order and
but
really
really
bad.
bad.
If it,
But
oh,
apparently, because they have 7 albums, I thought they had
well,
like
that
3, and I only thought they
well,
had
I
3
mean,
because of Pull. I thought they had 2, and then I heard of Pull, and I'm like, oh, I guess they have a third album. They have 7
well,
now.
they
They had
better. They've
6.
since the '80s. That doesn't mean we have to know about them.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That
Exactly.
happens.
They've been doing stuff. They've been doing stuff.
Toto
So
has like 20 or something, and I don't know all of them. And I'm a huge Toto fan.
that's true.
I know the first 7 or 8 real well, and then
But I'm aware they
some
all
other
exist
ones.
at least. We're aware they exist because we're
Yes,
Toto fans. But I didn't even know these. I guess I'm not a huge like Winger fan, but I
right.
appreciate how, in a way, I keep wanting to say butt rock, but in this episode in particular, I have to be very clear that I'm talking about 80s hair metal, which is sometimes called 80s hair metal, glam rock, hair rock. Oh, no, not hair rock. But those, like, like, what I'm talking about. All these
Yeah,
different labels. I consider butt rock to be the most accurate label, and not in a derogatory sense. It's just like it feels like the most accurate label when you listen to that kind of rock and or metal. And it was also always just like, right on that, is the 80s. It was right on that line between rock and metal, and it wasn't quite
yep.
as defined which was which yet. And then the 90s, they kind of split back off again, like you
That's
were
a
either rock
very
or metal.
fair label. I mean, it takes into account all the, like you said, all the is it this, is it that, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. But also, it's music for butts.
Exactly.
We're obviously fucked. Obviously, and back in the day, this might have been stuff that, oh my god, the girls think Kip is the sexiest man alive, and the girls probably listen to it because that was the big component of some of the hair and glam, etc. But yeah, I mean, it's got a little bit of element of sexiness to it. So there's butts.
It's
It's butt
swanky,
rock.
right?
It
Yeah,
works.
it's like you can move your butt to it, but it's
Yep.
still rock.
Metal T-shirt today because that's not what we're talking about.
No problem.
We have Sparks because
Yeah,
that's what we're talking
that's gonna be
about.
relevant. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I feel like 17 is a perfect example of like ignoring the subject matter, although that does make it more idiomatic to the style.
Yeah.
But like musically, it is an extremely excellent example of 80s butt rock. It's got
Yes.
that, it's very swanky and like upbeat and almost positive. So you hear the lyrics.
And the hook. And the hook.
Yeah, it's got a good chorus. So exactly.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that continues a little. The new one, you could hear that so my caveat is like, if you like 80s metal / butt rock / whatever, or I guess the new I think stupid relabeling is sleaze rock. It's like, it's sleaze, like that's part of the genre is being sleazy. It's like,
I
yeah,
don't
how
if
they
that's
didn't call it that
useful.
back then because they didn't even probably think of it. They were like, sleazy. No, man, we're just fucking. It's like Nigel Tufnell. What's wrong with being sexy? It's like, no.
No, we fuck.
Yeah.
We've been over this.
The new one is the same kind of thing where it's very quality rendition of that style of music. And I think it starts off very strong,
Accurate.
the first few tracks. There's maybe a little bit of that. I feel like there are some little like proggy moments, but I think that's what I think happens is when butt rock gets too serious, it basically turns into like prog light,
Right.
like
Sure.
the thing that shocked me the most, the last track, which I think is about 7 minutes long. The last track on the new one, 7 minutes and 28 seconds. It's kind of pushing it lengthwise there.
Is that all comes back around?
It all comes back around.
That was the first one I watched, and the one that I thought was really, really good.
Oh shit! I'll have to check out if there's a video. So the thing, at one point, I was like, "This sounds like a mid-tier Pain of Salvation song."
And
It's got a certain of like,
it's kind of fair.
it's got sort of like there's like the repeated line that's sort of like plain and yet like very weighty, and it's like there's a lot of shall I say mildly divorcecore elements on this album too, where there's a song and
Well,
you'll be
at
like,
some point, all of these guys have divorce core elements to their
Right,
life,
right. There's
to
a
their
lot
music.
of
I
yeah.
mean,
There's a couple like multiple songs where I was like, where he sounds like it's like
where's
is it
Tom?
really
Call Tom.
over? Can't I'm sorry I messed it up, and stuff like that. And you're like can I be redeemed? And you're like, so are
Well,
these all the same thing? Are these all about the
let's
same
make sure
the
we
chorus?
get back to this point about can I redeem? I'm sorry I messed up, because when we start talking about pull in more
Oh yeah,
detail, um, we'll piss on it. We're obviously doing
that's
this
okay. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
pretty fast and loose. Pull. Uh, a lot of things we can say about it. It's a nice whatever, and people like it. But the biggest number one thing I pulled from it was the No Man's Land song. Did you listen to the lyrics? Eighth song on there. The problem is, well, here, I'll read it. Straight out of Abilene, he's bustin' at the seams. Immune to whiskey, man, it's down to a shot of gasoline.
Yeah.
No, just wait.
All right. Okay.
This ain't no Romeo. This here's a one-man show. Living on a dare, thinking he'll become a legend. Hang on. One more fever digging for fool's gold. Fast lane freeway to the glory hole. The glory hole.
Yeah.
Fast lane freeway to the glory hole. There is no other way you can read this whole song. They are talking about a guy is doing something that he might need to apologize later to someone, because he pretty clearly went to the glory hole when he was
Oh
drunk.
well, okay, because I was like,
No, he got it. He got his dick sucked through a hole. That's what the song
but
is
it's
about.
no man's land. Like I was like, is he like you go
I,
to a
I don't know if I want to dig into the politics of who's on the other side of the hole. Honestly, I think that's part of the whole
but
hole.
so the funny thing to me, I didn't dig into the lyrics of this one as much, but I remember hearing the glory hole line, and
Because I listened to the album twice, and
thing
both
is-
times I was like, wait, I'm real confident they said glory hole a
You
couple of
did.
times in that song. I need to see why they're talking about a glory hole. I thought maybe it was going to be some metaphor or some. No,
No.
they're not. They're talking about going to the glory hole.
So also, the thing is, every time they said glory hole with this style of music, yeah, I just immediately thought of Steel Panther because it just immediately
Right,
sounded
yeah.
like
Oh, yeah,
adjacent
100%.
to- and it was like
Well,
they
obviously.
already like but yeah, I didn't listen to this one more than once, but I just caught that it was some sort of like right immune to whiskey, it's down to a shot, like just some crazy party. Like I didn't dig into like the meaning of it, other than I mean, yeah, obviously he's going to the
Oh,
glory
sorry.
hole.
I should have read one more set of lyrics.
what's
Because
the
he's
other-
living it up in no man's land. Tonight's the night, gonna get to heaven.
Yeah,
He went to the glory hole. He got his
Right.
dick sucked by
but
an
why is
anonymous
it no man's land?
person.
Like, isn't
Because he shouldn't have been there.
but who else would be at the glory hole?
An anonymous person who's there to suck a dick.
Okay, I guess, but like,
That's the whole thing.
is
That's,
it like
that's what a glory hole is?
but the no man, like, he's a man,
Sure, but
and
he
there's
maybe
like a-
shouldn't be there.
and there's a 50-50 chance the other side of the hole. Like, I feel like it's, I don't know, because
Mhm.
maybe, but like the other one that I don't get is like digging for fool's gold again. But maybe you're right though. Maybe it's just that he's rolling the dice, right?
Yeah,
Because that was
that's,
the
I think what we're getting at here. Yeah.
the 90s angle, which ironically, if you look, you know what? the
Hang
Steel
on. There are
Panther-
more lyrics. Hang on.
Okay, but this I just had a really
I don't wanna
important
read the whole-
realization, but go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, all right. He named his limousine the Mississippi Queen. Better never look inside, because things get a little bit messy.
Yeah.
No, he's talking about not looking in the glory hole, because you never know what's gonna be there, and it might be messy.
Sure. So
All right. What was your point?
this is some sort of like don't ask, don't tell theme, but like with a sense of danger. Where what I was gonna say is I think the Steel Panther Glory Hole song is ironically like more woke than this,
Ooh, could be.
because
That's possible.
the chorus of that one is I don't want to know who's you know. So uh this one
Well,
is a little
I
more
think that's
like,
in these lyrics too. He doesn't.
but
You
this one's
better
more
not look
like
inside
this
because it
guy
might be
is
messy.
this guy who is not me, who is definitely not Kip Winger. Like, is he's just crazy. He's just drinking.
Down in Abilene,
He's so
he's
wasted that
drunk. He's
he's
so
gonna go.
fucking drunk. He's
Whereas
dared.
Steel Panthers is more like, what night is it? Oh yeah, it's the night we're going to the. Like, guess what's happening?
Well,
It's interesting. It's interesting because I wonder if they got inspiration for this. This is from the '90s,
that
and
would not
like
at all
at least half of their
surprise me.
songs are literally some '80s song that they like changed to be legally distinct.
Well, and they're
So,
clearly well versed in all this
oh
stuff.
yeah,
They
yeah.
would have
So
heard
it would be
this.
hilarious if that was where they were like, you know what, this song isn't clear enough about what's going on, and we need to make it.
Yeah.
It's oh man, but
So
this is so funny too because again, this is supposed to be this is the album they're playing at ProgPower. It's supposed to
right.
be the mature, like, you don't appreciate real wingers actually in the '90s when they stopped sounding like butt rock quite so much, although it still kind of is.
Headlining at Prague Power.
Right, headlining at ProgPower, and like I know it's got some political themes in some of the tracks, but I don't think it's
Not
like a
this one.
concept album or anything. I
I
don't think it's
heard her
like
say.
because they just, I mean, granted, not that it has to be for them for like them to get someone to play a whole album. It just has to be like a popular album. I
Right.
mean, like I don't even know if I would say that trend started because of concept albums. It certainly is common among bands who have them because
Sure.
it's like seems like the right way to experience it. But with Prog Power, it's just like, oh, that most popular album, they're gonna play all of it, and you usually don't hear that, so buy
Right.
tickets.
Makes
Um,
sense.
but yeah, it's hilarious that there are still some remnants of true winger, like
I mean, yeah.
17 to No Man's Land.
I feel like maybe I need to like listen closely and actually read all the lyrics to see if there could be a concept here. And it might be a thing that was very relevant in the 90s. It might be about AIDS. Songs
Ah,
like Down Incognito, where he's talking about cure for his condition and hanging with the boys and all this, and now we're talking about the
oh
glory
shit.
hole and
And we got In My
the 90s.
Veins. I don't know. That's a good question. It could be like I know
I might be preaching pretty badly here, but I don't know. Some of these are themes that kind of come to the forefront when you start talking about that.
yeah.
And
Like
90s, 93.
uh
Junkyard Dog was clearly about doing heroin or whatever the hell, and In My Veins. There's two songs clearly about doing a bunch of drugs. There were some. This website didn't have lyrics for like Ritual, which I thought was maybe supposed to be the like most proggy ish
oh
song. That
yeah,
and Blind
something
Revolution
about
Mad.
oh, because like rituals that spread the magic dust. That was the because I was like, oh, is this about Coke? Like
Probably. Let's yeah.
but then there was a no, there was a different one though. Oh no,
Or
no, sorry,
In My
I'm sorry.
Veins. Again, it's
It's
all.
from the new one that I had
Oh,
a note to because there was another one on the new one that was like these are super '80s lyrics, and we'll double back to that in a second. Interesting, man. Now I kind of want to read. I mean, the thing is, like musically, it wasn't terrible, but I almost preferred the new record a little bit. Maybe it was the order because honestly, I felt like they were similar in a lot of ways. They both were like they had a little bit of that classic '80s butt rock wingery thing, but then some of
sure.
that like, oh, it's the '90s now, so we're going to be slower and bluesier. And there was still bluesiness in some of the original stuff. They got to have
Yeah.
like the slow, chuggy track, and it was all right. But like, it was produced by the same producer who produced Adrenalize for Def Leppard. And I think that kind of shows because again, it's like it's
Oh God,
90s.
what
It's
year was
not
that?
super 80s, but it's
Journalize.
still really crisp. It's not at all muddy or grungy. So it's just like the snare isn't gated. There's not
Sure.
like they just toned down some of those '80s effects, but it still has the '80s like crispness.
Right.
But the new one, I thought, I mean, granted it's new, but it sounded good. I liked the tones, the
Yep.
guitar tone and stuff, slightly more. Again, I
Kip
think they
sounds
put
really strong yet.
he does. He doesn't do as much of that
No, not
super
as much
high
high stuff,
stuff,
but
but it's probably
his
better
overall
for
tone.
it. Yeah, because some of it on Pull was like, oh, you're still trying to do that but like
Yeah.
the new one, obviously he was like, listen, man, I'm not gonna do any of that shit.
It's like,
Um,
dude, I'm old.
yeah,
Fuck off.
and so yeah, but they were, it was good. I like, yeah, I still wouldn't. I'm not like, oh man, I want to hear this whole thing live, but
No.
I feel like it was just an excuse for them to like be like, this is why they're playing, because this is the one that has been called proggy because it is butt rock, but being serious. Like that's really, it's not like like okay, yeah, very good musicians, very good musicianship, but they don't have like the diddly doos. You know, there aren't like
Well,
unnecessary. There's like,
and
what is
like,
it?
there's no time signature changes. Nothing.
Right,
It
right.
was the whole album was in four. Like
There are,
the
because
whole
like
fucking album.
now, even as I say this though, I'm realizing like even on like 17, there's a few surprising changes. Because again, there's actually extremely good musicians,
Well, oh yeah,
but
yeah.
it's
There's
still not
fills and
quite
little stuff like that, but
right.
the bulk of it is just
Right.
four.
It's oh yeah, no, it's not like sevens and shit like that.
Right.
But it's again, it's like prog light. You get too serious, that AOR area. Uh, it's not quite prog, but it is no longer radio playable in the 90s.
Well, yeah. Oh
Uh,
my god, it almost sounded almost complicated, almost. So no radio for you.
it must be prog.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, I do need to listen to the actual whole seven.
Yeah,
Now that the
it
four
tapers
videos
off
were
a bit.
very
Well,
good.
the end that ending song was good. There's a little bit of a lull in the middle, I think, where there's like there's a few songs where they weren't bad, but the vocal melody he kind of just like found one motif and he kind of repeats it and repeats it and repeats it.
Oh, well, yeah.
It
It's
isn't always
still
bad,
Winger.
but it wasn't as good or as varied as some of their the earlier stuff.
Sure.
Okay, so here's Stick the Knife In and Twist. This is just so, it's like he was like going back to the well, got out the old Coke mirror or something, because it's like,
God, feel Coke
you,
mirror.
wait, is this really, the other one was like, hold on, now I gotta pull up, what was the Glory Hole song again?
That was No Man's Land.
This Ain't No Romeo, this here's a one-man show. And then in Stick the Knife In, it's New York City in the dead of night, searching for a Romeo.
Oh
Sees a
no!
cowboy, lust ignites, welcome to the rodeo.
Wait a minute. Is Kip trying to tell us something?
I don't know. Deadly Lover's Crush, Addicted to the Rush, Switchblade Lover with a Poison Kiss, Tattooed 666. This, it's just so fucking like bam, 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 like fucking 80s lyrics,
Okay.
like just it's oh, this is the standard. It's a standard butt rock 80s song, which is there's a woman and she's so hot that it's dangerous, you know, like, and
Okay.
she's gonna get you in a non-specific way.
Well, of course.
She's gonna do you, but it's gonna be bad for you. It's, you know, so like, because again, she's gonna stick the knife in and twist river. Endless
Gonna
empty
roll
soul,
you, as
endless empty
kids
soul.
say.
She'll never fill the hole. Uh, no. Wait, the glory hole again. I'm like, is this a related? Are these part of a? Is this like part two
Maybe.
of the swinging trilogy or something?
I don't know if that counts
Probably
as
not.
swinging. I mean, swinging is
Not.
multiple
I don't know.
partners.
I'm just trying. You know how like you
It's
know.
all
Okay, so
consensual.
you know how Rush has the Fear trilogy, where there's like a series of songs. They're not on the same album even. They're spread out, but there's some related themes. So they were like, here's just a new song, but in parentheses, it's like part two of Fear. By the way, it's part two of Fear. Remember how we did I think they did them backwards. It was like
Or like when Dream
three.
Theater wrote the same song over and over, and
Oh, you mean the 12 yeah, yeah, right, exactly. The 12
over
step
and over
suite.
and over. But
Right, because no, but they were just they were quoting the previous parts by recycling riffs. And so
that's
yeah,
what that
it got so bad. Like of all the man, I remember somebody was mad about that, I think, on our comments, but that's normal.
fuck them.
Yeah, it was like, I don't care. He should have wrote a better piece of music about AA if you really wanted to
Clearly.
make a good point about it. So yeah, I mean,
Get
that
in
was
those
pretty
comments. Piss and moan. We'll make fun of you. It'll be good times.
much. Which is your favorite Winger album that you probably haven't heard of? Is
Yeah,
it Gold?
that's
Is it
yeah.
Seven?
Tell us
Let
all
us
about it.
know in the comments.
Tell us why we're stupid and we don't understand Kip's lyrical subtleties about
Genius.
the glory hole and Romeo and whatever he's got going on there. Which
I see
again, no
my
judgment, but
in passing, I just didn't assume the whole song was about the glory hole because he flat out mentions the glory hole. But you read it more and it's like, no, I think you're right. It's
he
either
mentions it a couple times. It's kind of
it's
like I don't know if it's the
either
bridge exactly or
right,
the,
and like you
yeah.
said, other parts of it sound like they're metaphors for the glory hole. So it's either that
You
or
gotta
it's
get
like
his,
some
yeah.
sex club that
Hmm.
is crazy because it has a glory hole, and so
So we're talking about Winger,
yeah,
and I've got Spark Factory background. I was browsing the tubes as you do, and so Winger has new music, Extreme has new music,
yes,
Dokken has new music.
also true.
There were three. Oh, Sebastian Bach has new music.
Yes,
Bruce Dickinson has new music.
yep.
Why is it 1987?
I don't know. I'm sure there's some cosmic cycle that lines up appropriately, or temporal cycle that lines up appropriately to explain it.
It's weird, right? This is all of these bands, all pretty similar time frame here, all at once, and not much of it is good. Like
Yeah, I mean,
Don
that's gonna
can't sing anymore,
happen.
and docking him without Don being able to sing is really bad. Gary Sharon never could sing, so the extreme stuff is bad.
He was okay on like the some of the early extreme stuff. It didn't get much past that, but there was.
I'm not giving him that. I don't care.
Anyway,
Bruce, well, he used to be amazing, and this is his solo stuff, so it didn't sound like much.
it sounded like most of his solo stuff, which is all right.
Yeah, well, it was clearly referential to other stuff. I forgot what the hell it was all about again because I watched it once and I don't care. But oh yeah, Bach sounded like Sebastian Bach, but old. So surprise. Are all these bands broke at the same time?
I mean, they
No.
probably. I mean, I think that last one is probably close. Maybe not broke, but maybe like. Well, actually, I think a lot of them are at the age where they're like, I only got a few more left. I got to get them in while I can.
Sure.
Kiss just retired, allegedly.
It's kind of. No, they retired
Right.
to be avatars.
And then they announced their digital like, man, just yeah, whatever.
They can go away anytime,
Anytime.
preferably 20 years ago.
Right. Which is when they first retired.
Yeah,
Actually,
well,
in the 90s.
they should have
They
stayed that
already
way.
did a fucking
Should have
they've
done it for
retired so
real.
many times.